There's something about the cold in New York City that finds every crack in you, every secret place you thought you'd hidden away. I was standing in the middle of 1,000,000 people that night, and I'd never felt more completely alone. My hands were shaking, but it wasn't from the chill. It was from the silence inside me, the kind of quiet that comes after a year of too much noise, too many promises that turned out to be lies, too many doors that just clicked shut. I was there, I think, to prove to myself I could still be somewhere, that I could still stand. And then the crowd surged, a wave of laughter and anticipation, and my feet just went out from under me. But I didn't hit the ground. His hands caught my shoulders, steady, solid, like he'd been waiting there, just for that moment. Our eyes met. It wasn't a movie moment. No music swelled. The world didn't blur. It was just two people, frozen in a river of chaos. His eyes were this impossible shade of green, flecked with gold from the streetlights, and they held a quietness that mirrored the ache in my own chest. A look that said, I know. I'm tired too. We laughed it off, this clumsy human thing. He said his name was Ethan. I told him mine was Lena. And then, because the alternative was to vanish back into the crowd and become ghosts to each other, we did something neither of us planned. We started walking, just two strangers, killing time until midnight. We moved away from the screaming energy of Times Square, down side streets that glowed with strings of leftover Christmas lights. We talked. Not the surface stuff. Not, what do you do, or where are you from? It was like we had this unspoken agreement to skip all the small talk, this desperate shared need to be real with someone, just once before the year turned. He told me about growing up in a small Ohio town, where the sky felt too big and his dreams felt too small. He'd come to New York with a guitar and a head full of songs, but the city had a way of turning melodies into background noise. I heard the gentle fracture in his voice when he said it. Not bitter, just worn thin. And me? I told him things I hadn't said out loud to anyone, about the boyfriend who'd taken my trust and treated it like something disposable, about the quiet fear that had taken root in me, that maybe I was built for loneliness, that maybe my heart was a room no one wanted to stay in. The shocking part wasn't that I was saying it. It was that I felt safe. With this man I'd known for less than an hour, his scarf pulled up against the cold, his attention never wavering. He listened with his whole body. He saw me, not the version I presented to the world. And I saw him. The artist who still dreamed in color, even when his world had gone gray. We found a set of fire escapes, leading up to a rooftop someone had left unlocked. Up there, the noise of the city became a distant hum. The cold was sharper, cleaner. We could see the glittering spine of Manhattan, and in the distance, over the East River, the first preparations for the fireworks. A shiver ran through me, deep and relentless. Here, Ethan said, his voice soft. He didn't put his arm around me. He just carefully, slowly, unlooped the thick wool scarf from around his own neck and wrapped it around mine. His knuckles brushed my cheek once, a touch so fleeting it might not have happened at all. But my skin burned where he'd touched it. The warmth of him was in the wool, the scent of coffee and cold air and something indefinably him. I pulled it tight, and in that moment, something in my chest, something cold and hard I'd carried for months, began to thaw. We stood in silence for a long time, watching the city breathe. Then his voice came, low and strained in the dark. Lena, I have to tell you something. The tone stopped my heart. It was a goodbye tone, a preemptive apology. My car is packed, he said, not looking at me, staring out at the skyline he was about to leave. I'm driving to Chicago in 4 days, a last chance job, A final attempt to make something stick. The words landed like a physical blow. The air left my lungs. "Why?" screamed a voice in my head. "Why now? Why him?" But I knew why. That was the cruelest part. The universe has a sick sense of humor. It gives you a glimpse of a door just as it's swinging shut. Down below, a massive, roaring chant began to rise, a countdown, rolling through the canyons of the city. 10. My eyes stung. This wasn't fair. 9. He turned to me finally. His eyes were glassy. 8. Can one night really change a life? He whispered, the question hanging between us, fragile as a snowflake. 7. I didn't have an answer, not with words. 6. All I had was this terrifying, reckless certainty in my blood. 5. I reached out. My bare hand found his in the freezing air. 4. His fingers laced through mine, tight, anchoring. 3. A tear traced a hot path down my cheek. 2. He lifted his other hand and caught it. His thumb brushed it away. 1. The sky exploded. A universe of color detonated over New York. Gold, silver, red, and blue, painting the clouds, reflecting in a million windows. The sound was immense, a thunderous celebration that shook the rooftop beneath our feet. Cheers erupted from 1,000 streets, and we just stood there, hands locked, hearts pounding against our ribs, a frantic, syncopated rhythm. The light from the fireworks danced across his face. Sorrow, hope, wonder, fear. I saw it all. I felt it all mirrored in my own soul. He leaned in, just slightly. A question. My breath hitched, but we didn't kiss. Not then. Instead, I leaned my forehead against his, the wool of the scarf a soft barrier between our skin. We stayed like that, breathing each other's air as the world celebrated below us. Two people in a silent pact, on a rooftop at the edge of everything. Because some beginnings are too important to rush. Some moments are too real to end with a midnight kiss. You have to let them breathe. You have to see the sunrise. And we did. We talked until our voices were rough. We cried from the sheer, overwhelming relief of being seen. We laughed until our sides hurt. We watched the dark sky fade to indigo, then to a pale, hopeful gold, painting the rooftops of the city we were both saying goodbye to. Him to a place, me to an old life. When the first real light of the new year washed over us, he finally spoke, his voice raw with a night of truth. "What do we do, Lena?" I looked at our still joined hands. I looked at the city, vast and unknowable. I looked at him. I didn't know the answer, not the practical one, but I knew the real one. We choose. Even when it's illogical, even when it's scary, even when it starts with a stumble in a crowd and ends with a sunrise on a cold rooftop. We choose the maybe. That sunrise. It felt like a promise we were too scared to put into words. We climbed down from that rooftop as different people. The city, blanketed in the hushed, tired aftermath of celebration, felt new. The discarded confetti was just colored paper. The silence was just quiet. But between us, the air was charged with a terrifying, beautiful voltage. We got coffee from a bodega that had just opened, the steam rising between our faces as we stood on a curb, unsure of where to go. That was the first, real, practical moment. The magic hour was over. Reality was a 1998 Volvo wagon packed with all his belongings, parked in a garage in Queens. "I should show you," Ethan said, his voice quiet. "The machine I'm supposed to drive my future away in." The garage was dim and smelled of concrete and oil. The wagon was there, stuffed to the ceiling with boxes, a guitar case wedged precariously in the passenger seat. Seeing it made my stomach drop. It was so final. A metal box of surrendered dreams. He unlocked it, and a few sheets of music slid out onto the oily floor. He bent to pick them up, and I saw his shoulders tense. "This is it," he said, not turning around. "The great escape plan." I stepped forward, my boots scuffing on the concrete. I didn't touch the car. I touched his arm. He flinched, then slowly straightened to face me. "Play me one," I said. My voice was barely a whisper in the cavernous space. "One of your songs, the one you're most afraid to play for people." He stared at me, his green eyes searching mine. He looked wrecked. Beautifully, honestly wrecked. He shook his head, a small pained movement. "Lena, I can't. Not here. Not now." "Why not?" "Because," he said, his voice cracking, "if I play it for you, I won't get in this car, and I have to get in this car." The truth of it hung there, ugly and plain. We spent the next 3 days in a suspended reality. He didn't get in the car. I didn't go back to my quiet, lonely apartment. We lived in the in-between. We walked across the Brooklyn Bridge as a winter wind sliced off the river, and he told me about the first song he ever wrote, when he was 15 and heartbroken over a girl who moved to Toledo. We ate late-night slices in a fluorescent-lit pizzeria, and I made him laugh so hard soda came out of his nose. We found a used bookstore and read terrible poetry to each other in the aisles, our shoulders touching. It was the most intimate and the most agonizing time of my life. Every laugh was underlined with a countdown. Every touch was a preemptive memory. We were collecting moments like firewood, knowing a cold was coming. The night before his planned departure, we ended up back in Manhattan, outside the grand, closed doors of the public library. The stone lions stood watch in the dark. We were out of small talk, out of city streets to wander. The unsaid thing had grown so large it was a third person with us, silent and looming. He sat on the library steps, his head in his hands. I sat beside him, our bodies not touching. "I don't know what I'm doing," he said, the words muffled. "This job in Chicago, it's a spreadsheet job. It's a health insurance and 401k job. It's the death of every dream I've ever had. And I was ready for that death. I was welcoming it. Because when a dream is dead, you stop feeling the ache of it, right?" I waited. The city traffic flowed like distant rivers of light. "And then I caught you," he said, lifting his head. His face was stark in the shadowed light. "And you looked at me. Not at the guy who failed, but at me. And now the ache is everywhere. It's in my chest. It's in my hands. It's in this stupid, beautiful city I was so ready to hate. You brought it all back to life, and I don't know how to carry it." I reached over and took his hand. I laced my fingers through his, feeling the calluses on his fingertips from guitar strings. "So don't carry it," I said, my own voice trembling. "Put it down, stay." He closed his eyes, a tear escaping down his temple. "And do what? Be a bartender? A barista? Watch you realize in a month that this feeling isn't enough to build a life on? I can't do that to you. I can't be your regret." I stood up, pulling him with me. I faced him there, on the steps of that temple of stories. "You are not allowed to make that choice for me," I said, my words firm now. "You think this is just a feeling? Ethan, I told you my deepest shame on a rooftop. You held my silence and didn't try to fill it. That's not a spark. That's a foundation." He looked shattered, hopeful and terrified. "What are we supposed to do?" I didn't have a 5-year plan. I didn't have a savings account or a guaranteed answer. All I had was the bone-deep knowledge I'd carried since that rooftop. "We try," I said simply. "We try, right here. You find a job, any job, I'll do the same. We get a tiny, horrible apartment with roaches and great light. We'll be poor and tired and scared. And you'll play your songs for me after your shifts. And I'll believe in you on the days you can't believe in yourself. We build a life, not out of certainty, but out of this. I press my hand over his heart. We choose the maybe, remember? He was crying now, freely. So was I. The cold air froze the tears on our cheeks. It might not work, he whispered. It might not, I agreed. But leaving will definitely break it, and I can't live with that what if, not after knowing what this feels like. He pulled me into him then, finally, a crushing, desperate embrace. I buried my face in his scarf, which still smelled like him, like us, like that first night. We held on to each other like the last solid thing in a shifting world. He didn't leave for Chicago. He moved his boxes out of the Volvo and into a storage unit the size of a closet. I introduced him to my cat. He got a job unloading trucks at a music venue in Brooklyn. I picked up extra shifts. We found that tiny apartment. It did have roaches, and it did have incredible morning light that painted the walls gold. It wasn't easy. Some days were hard, so hard the doubt was a physical weight. But he'd come home smelling of sweat and cardboard, pick up his guitar, and play a new riff. And I'd watch the artist in him, alive and fighting, and I knew. We were building our maybe. One evening, almost a year to the day after that rooftop, he came home early. He had that look in his eye, the quiet, focused one. He took my hand, didn't say a word, and led me up the 6 flights of stairs to our building's roof. It was nothing special, just tar paper and vent pipes, but you could see a sliver of the city skyline. He sat me down on a blanket he'd brought up, faced me, and picked up his guitar. "This is the song," he said, his voice steady and sure. "The one I was too afraid to play in the garage." He played, and it was our story. The cold, the crowd, the fear, the hope, the choice. It was the melody of a midnight countdown and a sunrise decision. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard. When the last note faded into the hum of the city, he didn't put the guitar down. He just looked at me, his eyes that same impossible green. "The maybe was the best choice I ever made," he said. "You were the best choice." He didn't propose, not with a ring or a question. It was a statement, a confirmation, of a love that didn't begin with a kiss at midnight, but with a choice in the cold light of dawn. A love built not on a fairy tale, but on a stubborn, beautiful, real-world decision to try. We sat there as the sky turned the same colors as those first fireworks, holding hands, watching our city light up below us, no longer alone in the crowd, no longer just ghosts passing through. We were home.